You thought it was a joke? You thought it was just another meme, right? President of the United States trying to buy an entire country like it was a hotel on the Las Vegas Strip? We all laughed. We all posted the memes. But while we were laughing, the geopolitical tectonic plates were shifting beneath our feet because that joke was not a joke. Was the opening move of the most aggressive economic chess game of the 21st century, and guess what? The checkmate just happened. A secret maneuver involving Greenland has effectively put Europe's entire $1.7 trillion trade economy on ice, and it has China scrambling to redraw the world map. If you own a smartphone, drive an electric car, or care about the price of literally anything, you need to listen closely. The Cold War is back, but this time it's actually cold. Right. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving into the single most misunderstood news story of the last decade. We are talking about the Arctic, the next global battlefield. See, most people look at a map and see a big block of useless white ice at the top of the world. But the elites in Washington, Brussels, and Beijing, they don't see ice. They see the future. They see the shipping lanes that will replace the Suez Canal. They see the military high ground. And most importantly, they see the ingredients for the next industrial revolution buried under the permafrost. We are talking about a geopolitical stranglehold that involves a secret diplomatic push, a panic in the European Union, and a terrified response from China. By the end of this video, you are going to understand why the United States is willing to risk its oldest alliance to secure a frozen rock in the North Atlantic, and why Europe might just be the biggest loser in the trade war of the century. Let's get into it. The meme that masked the mission. Let's rewind the clock. August 2019. The headlines break that Donald Trump wants to buy Greenland from Denmark. The Danish Prime Minister calls it absurd. The internet goes wild with photoshops of gold towers on icebergs. It was prime entertainment. But here's the thing nobody talks about. This wasn't a Trump idea. This is an American obsession that goes back over a century. Here's your surprising historical connection. Did you know that in 1946, President Harry Truman, the guy who ended World War II, literally offered Denmark $100 million in gold bars to buy Greenland, $100 million in 1946 money? And before him, in 1867, the State Department tried to buy it at the same time they bought Alaska. Why? Because even back then, they knew Greenland was the ultimate unsinkable aircraft carrier. Fast forward to today, the media focused on the purchase price, but they missed the lease agreement. While the sale didn't happen, the U.S. State Department quietly opened a consulate in New Greenland's capital for the first time in decades. They started pumping millions into civilian aid and infrastructure projects. They didn't buy the house. They just moved into the guest room and changed the locks. This soft power takeover was step one in blocking what comes next, the trillion-dollar treasure chest. Okay, so why the obsession? Is it just about parking fighter jets? No, it's about what's buried under the ice. You need to understand that the modern world runs on rare earth elements. These are the 17 magical metals that make your iPhone vibrate, your Tesla battery hold a charge, and F-35 fighter jets fly. For the last 20 years, China has controlled about 80 to 90% of the global supply of these elements. They have a chokehold on the future. If Beijing turns off the tap, the Western tech sector dies in a week. Enter Greenland. Specifically a place called Kvanefjeld. Geologists believe this site holds one of the largest undeveloped deposits of rare earth metals and uranium on the planet. We are talking about enough neodymium and dysprosium to break China's monopoly overnight. This is where the secret deal comes in. The U.S. has been using diplomatic strong-arming to ensure that mining contracts in Greenland do not go to Chinese state-owned companies. They have effectively created a Western blockade around these resources. But here is the twist. This blockade doesn't just hurt China, it hurts Europe. Freezing out the European Union, this is the part that isn't making the nightly news. Europe is currently trying to launch its Green Deal. They want to be the first carbon-neutral continent. To do that, they need massive amounts of these rare earth minerals for wind turbines and EV motors. Europe assumed, naturally, that because Greenland is a territory of Denmark and EU member, they would have first dibs on those minerals. Wrong. Greenland is an autonomous territory. They aren't in the EU, and the United States has been whispering in their ear, offering direct investment and security guarantees that bypass Brussels entirely. By locking down Greenland into the North American security sphere, the US is essentially telling Europe, if you want the minerals for your green revolution, you have to buy them through us or through supply chains we control. This freezes the EU's ability to be an independent economic superpower. They wanted strategic autonomy. Instead, they are getting dependency. The $1.7 trillion transatlantic trade alliance is now unbalanced because the US holds the keys to the raw materials Europe needs to survive the 21st century. It's a protectionist power move wrapped in national security language. The dragon in the snow, China's panic now. Let's look at this from Beijing's perspective. China calls itself a near-Arctic state, which is funny, because they are about as close to the Arctic as Poland is to the equator. But they coined this term because they want to build the Polar Silk Road. As the ice caps melt in, they are melting fast. Shipping routes across the top of Russia are opening up. This cuts shipping time from Shanghai to Rotterdam by weeks. China wants to control these routes and the ports along them. They were this close to financing 3 massive airports in Greenland a few years ago. Do you know who stopped them? The Pentagon? The US government reportedly told Denmark, "You figure out a way to pay for those airports, or we will." But China's not touching them. So now, China's watching its monopoly on rare earths get threatened by Greenland's potential mines, and its shipping ambitions get blocked by US military expansion. They are cornered. And a cornered dragon is dangerous. They are responding by tightening exports on gallium and germanium metals you need for chips, is sending inflation skyrocketing for Western tech companies. The juke gap in the future of war, we have to talk about the military geography for a second. There is a concept called the GI-UK gap, Greenland, Iceland, UK. It's the naval choke point of the Atlantic. During the Cold War, this is where NATO planned to stop Soviet submarines. Today, with Russia remilitarizing the Arctic and China building icebreakers, the US has realized that if they lose Greenland, they lose the North Atlantic. This secret deal to economically integrate Greenland into the US is essentially a 21st century annexation without the paperwork. They are upgrading the Thule Air Base, now called Pacific, which houses the radar that warns us if nuclear missiles are incoming. If that base goes offline, or if a hostile power gets a foothold nearby, the American nuclear umbrella has a hole in it. So, Trump's absurd offer was actually a clumsy articulation of the most vital strategic imperative the US has. Keep Greenland American aligned at all costs, even if it means throwing our European allies under the bus economically. Transitions between hook and intro. So, let's peel back the layers of this geopolitical onion between intro and segment 1 to understand the future. We have to look at the moment everyone thought was a joke. Between segment 1 and segment 2, but establishing a presence is one thing. The real question is, what are they guarding? Between segment 2 and segment 3, now. You'd think finding a treasure chest would be good news for everyone in the West, but you'd be wrong. Between segment 3 and segment 4, so Europe is stuck in the cold. But there is another player watching this happen who is absolutely furious. Between segment 4 and segment 5, economics is one thing, but eventually, push comes to shove. And that brings us to the guns. Between segment 5 and conclusion. So where does that leave us today? The reality is that the map of the world is changing faster than we realize. The ice is melting, revealing new treasures and new trade routes. And the old alliances that held the world together are fracturing under the pressure to secure them. The secret deal for Greenland wasn't a real estate transaction. It was a declaration that in the fight for resources between the US and China, Europe is just collateral damage. We are moving away from a world of global cooperation and into a world of resource hoarding. The US has secured the northern flank, frozen out the competition, and checkmated China's monopoly, all while we were busy laughing at a meme. If you want to stay ahead of the curve and understand the economy better than the mainstream news tells you, you need to smash that subscribe button. We are digging deep into the stories that actually matter. And let me know in the comments, do you think the US should try to buy Greenland again? Or should we leave them alone? I read every comment. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.